I hate a double elimination. And honestly, this was like a really good episode up until after the reward. And I feel as though the plan reflects that. Welcome back, everyone, to Escaping Reality, the podcast where Anna, Aggie, and Stacy sit down and we talk about reality TV, reality competition shows, mostly just Survivor, but it's fine, it's in the name. So today, we are talking about Survivor Season 48, Episode 7, titled Survivor Smack Talk, a Jeff quote, I might add. I think it's been a while since we've had an episode named after something Jeff says, so I love to see that. But also, if you're listening, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following the pod. We are on Instagram at Escaping Reality Pod. The content is fresh. The content is fire. We're on TikTok at Escaping Reality Pod. I posted this week for the first time in a while, and you know what? We did some numbers. So if you're not following on TikTok, you're gonna miss it out.
You're gonna miss it out.
You're gonna miss it out, even though it was the exact same video I posted on Instagram. Got more love on TikTok though. Gotta love the TikTok. And Apple and Spotify, you know what to do. Give us a rating. I checked the other day to see if we had any new ratings and reviews. We did not. So if you give us a review on Apple Podcasts and you DM me and you say, hey, I gave you a review, I'm going to give you a special shout out.
No.
Incentive.
Incentives.
But here we are. Let's talk about this episode. We got a lot of ground to cover, as always in my plan. I just put down all my notes and my thoughts, so we'll see if it makes sense when it comes time to talk about those instances. But the first half of the episode was pretty straightforward. The second half gets all wonky because we have two tribal councils, and it's never clean, the deliberation and the tribal councils when we have two. So we'll get there when we get there. First things first. Reminder of who we're playing. We've switched. We are officially merged. We have a merged tribe name. We never hear them talk about it, but it is Niunai. And we have left at the start of this episode Cedric, Mary, Say, Eva, Joe, Shaheen, Star, Mitch, Kyle, David, Chrissy, and Camilla. That's who's playing. You want to know what you're playing for? Our initial thoughts. Aggie, you're up first.
Wait, Anna, I have some information on the tribe name because I saw it on the Twitter from
Gimme,
Mary.
gimme.
Apparently, it's Chinese for milk.
I thought it was milk. It was something about milk.
Sure.
But
I'm
like,
going to Google.
but Mary was like, I think they wanted to do the Fijian word, but like production was like, no, I think. Don't quote me on this. Like, I saw it in pieces on Twitter. Maybe check Mary Zhang's Twitter because she was talking
Cow's
about
milk.
shout out. But yeah, it means milk.
I love that for them.
And I think it was to circumvent basically them being like, no, you can't use the Fijian name. And she said, hold my beer. I'll give
my
you
milk.
I'll give
Hold
you
my
the
milk.
hold my milk, if you will.
Oh, I'm obsessed.
So that's
See,
what
this is where's the deleted scene? Where's the
Where's the
regular
deleted
undeleted scene?
I got the deleted scene from Mary's tweets. Okay, so that's the tea. But now I'll actually give you my initial thoughts on the episode.
Please.
I don't know how many times I can say, please don't do a double elimination where the one tribe is split into two little groups. I don't know how many times I can tell Jeff that I hate it, but he doesn't care. I also do not like the numbers on who goes home in this little scenario. It's happened 6 times in the new era. 4 times it's been 2 black people. The other time, there was one white lady who went home and a black man, and then Nasir and Evie, so another person of color and someone who is a minority. That doesn't feel good. There was some attempted intrigue as to, ooh, what's gonna happen? And I was like, I would love it if something interesting happened, but then it didn't. That being said, though, the first 45 minutes fucking ruled. I loved Shaheen's little musical interlude. He clipped it and put it on his Instagram, and I was like, Daddy. Like, it was so funny. It was so funny. And such a good example of the female gaze because I was like, this should not be hot, but I am overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. And Jeff was like on one, and everyone was like, I'm gonna get in there and be a little sassy little bitch in a like complimentary way. And that was really fun. I did not like the end. I did not like the in between, but I loved the first 45 minutes. And so now I would like them to start to actually play this game. That's it.
Love it. Stacy, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I feel similarly. The whole challenge, I think I wrote on Shaheen's, which I know I'm not saying it right. I cannot leave the H out, but on his I said that that was the best 60 seconds of Survivor we've had in a long time. Like that was great. I could just rewatch that over and over, the whole smack talk thing and his singing. I will say I missed the first like 5 to 10 minutes of the episode. So I did miss a bit of the beginning, but I loved the challenge. I am tired of them splitting up when it's already past the merge or it's at the merge and then they split up again. And yeah, not happy about losing a team member who was kind of my winner pick for at the very start of Cedric. And then Say, I feel like it's just going to be boring without Say. So that's my biggest concern. And I mean, yes, when they do it this way, usually minorities they take the hits. So, but those are my overarching thoughts, I would say.
Well, we'll get into what happens at the beginning and catch you up, Stacey. So no worries about that. I don't think you missed anything groundbreaking, if I recall. But
Did not.
yeah, thank you. But yeah, I mean, my feelings echo both of yours. I just hate the double elimination at this point in the game. Like we just merge, you're splitting them up. The timing is always wrong, and we've seen it in pretty much every New Era season. And especially when one of the biggest complaints about New Era is the fact that like one tribe in the tribal game gets decimated, and then like we don't see anything of the others. It seems like such an easy fix to say we'll do the double elimination in the tribal stage so that we can break up some of that monotony, essentially. So it seems like that would be a much better idea because I hate the way that they do it. Like they did it in this episode. We don't have enough time for it. We are shaking up alliances in a way that is too forceful on the production side. I just don't care for it. And like you guys both said, statistically, it's been two black people going home back to back, which just it starts to feel suspicious after one too many times. Like it's clearly a pattern and we're not doing anything to break up the pattern. So let's get into the episode. The first half is great, but we come back after last week's tribal council and we're doing this sort of post-tribal regroup. And Mitch, we hear a lot from Mitch. He's feeling blindsided by the charity vote. He's questioning everything. He doesn't know who to trust. He feels like he's not really connected with anyone in a way that they will share this kind of information with him. So he's sort of rethinking his entire game. We get a lot of existential like shots of Mitch being like contemplative. He goes to clear the air with Say after he voted for her, and we hear from Say. She keeps saying she's a cat with 9 lives, which up until this point, yeah. And then, not so much later in the episode, but she talks to Mitch that we then hear from her that she's like, that's great, but I don't really believe him or trust him. I don't really want to work with him. And then we have this great scene from Cedric where he's trying to decipher who voted for him last night based on the handwriting, the penmanship. And it's just this like hilarious edit of him being like, but there's no way it was a woman's handwriting. And even if it was, it can't possibly have been Say. Wrong. But that's like a cute, funny moment. Worth a rewatch, Stacey, if you missed it. We also see Shaheen starts to take center stage a little bit in this episode. And he talks to Mitch about how he was told specifically not to tell him that the vote was Charity. Joe claims that like he didn't know that Mitch and Charity were tight, but Mitch like kind of writes all this off. He's like, I know it's just a game, so like let's just all get to know each other a little bit. So we see this sort of growing conversation and grouping, I guess, between Mitch, Joe, and Shaheen, where they just kind of shoot the shit. They get to know each other. Mitch, we hear a little bit of backstory from him about he was a postman. Joe keeps saying a letter carrier, a letter carrier. And I'm like, is this like a gender neutral thing? Or are you just like, no, it's called a letter carrier? He says it enough times that it's significant to me. And we hear from Mitch talk about his decision to like switch to teaching. They all talk about the importance of building trust, which is great until Joe is like in confessional. Everybody loves Mitch, which makes him a threat. Like, who wouldn't vote for him in the end? So Joe is on to this, but it's a nice little scene of them getting to know each other. And then we also see Say socializing with what are referred to as power players and we see Shaheen in this instance. And this is sort of, again, he's starting to take center stage for the episode and recognize that he is kind of in a position of power as this like middle vote. He recognizes her game, but he also recognizes that they really haven't talked to one another. I think he says something like, if we had been on the same tribe from the beginning, she would have been the type of player that I would have played with. Say again, says something to his face, and then something else in confessional. She's like, I don't take it personally, but she does. And then, most importantly, in my opinion, Shaheen says, if I can maintain this position of control, I will win this game. Just thought the timing of that line was interesting as we really shift gears from pre-merge game into this new second act of the season. So I know that was a lot. There are definitely some key takeaways. So I'm interested to hear your key takeaways.
Well, since I missed most of that, that was a nice recap. And I want to go see the stuff about Mitch. I didn't know that his backstory was kind of discussed. So, because I heard about the handwriting, because I listened to Jeff's podcast this morning, but I didn't know there's some stuff about Mitch. So I'll go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very Mitch heavy
Oh,
in this
okay.
opening
Jeff
sequence.
left that out in his little recap.
Yeah, they didn't talk about that. So
The stuff with Mitch was lovely. I think it was a good example of Joe's thesis, which is Mitch will get votes at the end because he goes to talk to Joe and Shaheen at the water well.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically like telling them his story. And the three of them are basically like, oh, he's great. We actually could really get along with him. And then Joe's basically like, and that's a problem. And as a viewer, you're like, it's not a problem. Mitch is delightful. Get him on your side, babe. And then you're like, I get why. You're like, okay, maybe we go after Mitch. Like, maybe we don't want to keep Mitch around because you're like, Joe, you're not wrong. Unfortunately, Joe, you're not wrong. He will get votes at the end. It's a little early, I think, to be really stressed about that because Mitch is competitive, but he hasn't won an immunity yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's not out of the realm of possibility. We've seen how successful he can be. We've seen him be like physical, and I think he has the opportunity to win one. But it was one of those things where I was kind of like, I just think it's a little early to be that stressed about Mitch. Stacey, I think you said in your initial thoughts, like the game is going to be boring without Say. I feel like these interactions is a great example of that. I think she's just like fun to watch, and I think she's having fun. I actually liked though her conversation with Shaheen, where she was basically like, "Hey, I get it, but like, it seemed to me like she was kind of like, is there an opportunity here?" And Shaheen didn't seem like fully against it, but he just wasn't fully for it because he was like, I've already picked my people. And it was
Yeah,
like,
there was kind of no follow through from their conversation. It was just like clearing the air.
and I was kind of frustrated. I was kind of like, Shaheen, you're saying you're in this middle ground power position. Loki, like, and I think that's what pissed me off about the second half, which I know we're not there yet, but like, it was frustrating because I was like, there are opportunities to shake this up and you just choose not to take them. I don't know. It just felt a little bit like, oh, I kind of wish something had happened with that
Mm-hmm.
because,
And I agree with you.
yeah,
And I think part of the problem with that, and we'll get into the details of how it plays out, but I think part of the issue is the fact that in these episodes where we're doing a double elimination and two tribal councils, like it gets distilled down to the absolute simplest version of deliberation that we see. Like we're presented with this image of like, here's one reason that we want to vote this person and one reason that we might vote this person. We don't know. And then we see them go to tribal. Like it's given no opportunity to like breathe. And I think that that's part of the problem. But we'll talk more about it when we get to the recap of what it is we do see. But I think that that's the problem is like it's distilled to be so simplistic. And I'm sure there's other stuff going on camp beyond them being like, well, this person could be a threat, but this person could also be a threat. What are we gonna choose? Like,
what are we
there
gonna
has to
do?
be. Because I agree with you. Like it comes across as they're just not taking the opportunity, but I'm gonna blame the episode a little bit.
Okay, great.
Although it is also probably on them, on the players. But we'll talk more momentarily. So we go to the challenge, and the challenge is the best part of the episode. So let's get into it. We have two teams. We're split into two teams because of course we are, because we're not merged. What's the point of that? Two teams. There will be two tribal councils tonight. There will be two individual immunity wins. There will be one tribal reward, which is DIY PB&J. I have a lot to say about that also. For whichever team lasts the longest, whatever individuals last the longest get immunity, whatever team collectively lasts the longest gets the reward of PB&J, but also they get the added reward of going to tribal council second, and whomever they vote out will be on the jury. So team one, no reward, no jury. Team two, PB&J, and also jury. Group number one is Star, Joe, Mitch, Chrissy, Eva, and Say. Group number two is Kyle, Shaheen, Cedric, Mary, David, and Camilla. Group two wins. Joe wins individual immunity and David wins individual immunity. But during the challenge, which by the way is the hold 25% of your pregame body weight in a bucket, classic, so good. We have this Survivor Smack Talk montage, and it's just delicious. It's like everything that was wrong with last week's challenge and how fucking boring and long and like no tension, no banter, no nothing. This was the complete opposite. And I was so happy to see it because I was like, wow, they used all their energy here. No wonder last week sucked. It's the best part of the episode, maybe the season, maybe all of New Era. This is how it should be. Couple comments about the challenge. Cedric is out after about 20 seconds. It's all the big strong guys that last till the end, which is, sort of assumed. Plus Eva. Eva lasts pretty long. And then it gets down to like Kyle and David and Joe. Ultimately, Joe and David win, and David double wins. He wins reward for their team. But yeah, really good challenge. Just delightful. Jeff was on his game. Everybody was on their game. Thoughts on this challenge other than, wow, I loved that.
No, but yes. Because wow, I did love that. First, I thought it was really fun to see them playfully doing things with Jeff, and it was everybody. It was like the people doing the challenge. It was the people who had already gotten out. Cedric took maybe some strays from Jeff that were unnecessary. Like I understand you make the comment when he gets out after 20 seconds. I don't think we need to bring it up at 45 minutes, but like, okay, you do you, Jeff. It's just so fun when people are having fun. Not to be like weird about it or parasocial about it, but like, it's just fun when other people are having fun, you're having fun. And I think that was just such a good example of this because I think the minute that Jeff was like, cue the music, and then Shaheen started doing it, and you were like, but that's also how I would feel as someone watching this. I'd be like, I'm playing it in my mind. Or like when Kyle makes the joke about, you can see it now, apply now to be on Survivor. And then they did it. Like, it was so funny. Like, I was like, hell yeah. And then we broke Gabler's record. So he's expunged from the history books. Oh my
cherry
God.
on top.
It was so good. It was so good.
That was Aggie's favorite part.
Team Aggie was part of taking him down. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. So
I almost forgot about that.
So like it was a 10 out of 10 experience for me. It was like hit after hit after hit. I was like, clip that 20 minutes and put it on my tombstone on a constant loop. It was incredible. I loved every second of it. Okay, so that's my words on it.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I forgot about Gabler's record being broken.
How could you forget?
That's Aggie's favorite part.
It's in all caps in my notes.
But yeah, no, the Kyle moment was just so good because it's like, I mean, yeah, just making fun of yourself basically, or like the show you're on, and also a small jab at Jeff never hurts. So it was great because it's like at this point they like it's just funny how New Era. It's like they've seen it happen so much. Like they watched probably 41, 42, where he does that every time. I will say the singing, like, was that, and like, did Shaheen make that song up and then they did it? Or is that like the actual song they use? Because it was just too
They definitely took whatever he was doing and like turned it into the music for the challenge.
Yeah.
But what he was doing was also inspired by the music that they always play. Like
it felt like Shaheen almost could hear what they would put behind it. Because the thing is, the minute the like extra version of it came in behind Shaheen, I was like, no, that's exactly what it sounds like. And Shaheen was like, quite literally perfectly right about it.
Yeah, that's how I was like.
It was really good. Like, I was like, okay.
It caught me off guard because I think missed the part where Jeff said cue the music and he started doing it, and all of a sudden he was like perfectly lip syncing what was playing,
Oh,
and I was like, wait a
no, it was
minute.
everything to me. Jeff going, cue the music, because he knew that that would work in the editor's room. And Shaheen said, watch me, I will. And I was like, yes.
And then at the end, and then he was like, yeah, bro. Shaheen said that. He was like, yeah, bro, I could do this all day or something.
My favorite was also Jeff being like, that's pretty good. Like,
It was just funny, like seeing all their like banter with each other. I just feel like we haven't been seeing that too much. We see them like strategize, but we don't see them just kind of like joke with each other. So it was great.
It
I
was the
would like,
best challenge banter since 2 seasons ago when they did the B for Baltimore and they like couldn't get it right. Do you guys remember that challenge with Q?
Wait. Oh, yes, 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 yes.
I also just like would like to shout out the editors for the gratuitous like cuts to David like flexing.
Yes.
David has given me the ick, but as like a person with eyes, I could appreciate that. I
Mhm.
also loved that Kyle called them when Kyle finally got out. He's like, it's Captain America versus The Rock. And I was like, those two things don't exist in the same universe. Love that
Nope.
that's
The Rock is a
that's what
real human
it is.
person.
The Rock is a real human person and Captain America is not. Also, I'm assuming Joe is The Rock and David is Captain America. And what part of David's actions has earned him the title Captain America? Chris Evans has words for you, sir. You are not Captain America.
It was a weird comparison.
It was a weird comparison, but it was funny in the moment. I was like, okay, sure, sure. But Kyle, if we're gonna do this, it's like Captain America versus another character from Marvel,
Mhm. Mhm.
or like do the Miz versus The Rock and make it their like
The Miz.
WWE. Do you know what I mean? And the Miz versus The Rock is maybe more accurate. I said what I said.
The Miz.
I
That was
live,
a good pull. That was
stand
a
by
good
it.
pull.
I stand by it.
Do we feel sufficiently?
Well, are you going to talk about the because I actually have it on in the background right now, and it's
Oh,
like they did all that for the sandwiches. Are you going to talk about making their own sandwiches?
let's talk about the reward. Let's talk about the reward. Do it yourself, PB&J. It's like they know that we have beef with the rewards and they're just testing the waters on how much worse they can make it because you can't even fucking make them a sandwich. Like, was it like, does somebody have an allergy or like a gluten like what is the reasoning behind making them put them together? I don't understand that at all. Also, they get to the reward and somebody's like, this is pretty good. And I was like, what do you mean pretty good? You haven't eaten in 2 weeks and this is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Why aren't you saying this is the greatest PB&J I've ever had in my life? Like, this is pretty good. Rude. Stacey,
Or
do you have comments on the
Rude.
sandwiches? Or
Well,
I'm sorry,
just
the deconstructed sandwiches?
it just feels like for such an exciting challenge, I wish it was for more.
Yeah.
That's all. Like, I just wish it was. I mean, I'm sure again. I'm sure. I mean, any food is better than no food, and the bread actually looks like pretty good bread as I'm looking
It
at it.
looks pretty fluffy.
But yeah, I just feel like there should have been. This should have been for Chili's. This should have been the one Applebee's, whatever. Like, come
that
on.
part.
Hmm.
That part. Again, why is my reward more work? Why
Oh,
am I now doing work to enjoy my reward? Just, it's supposed to be a reward, Jeff. Also, it was at camp.
yeah, rude.
It's enough. If you're not going to let them go to the sanctuary every time, like, Jeff, what are we doing here?
I would rather they just fucking stay at the challenge. Like, set them up a picnic table.
Yeah, be like, you get to stay here, enjoy. This is a beautiful place. Have a little
Yeah.
PB&J right here. I don't know. It felt weird. It felt weird. And I was like,
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
I just don't love it, and I don't see it coming to an end anytime soon. So, like, I would love if on 50 they're like, we're doing all out rewards. They won't. They just won't. Because they're cheap and they're lazy, and that's all I have to say about that. Anywho, so at the reward, I'm gonna break up the sort of deliberation into like 2 parts, but also 4 parts because we do a lot of bouncing around as we always do. But I actually think it will make more sense to like talk about things as we see them rather than like, and here's what the one team is thinking, and here's what the other team. But if there's overlap, then there's overlap. So we'll talk about the reward first. So we have our group that won the reward Kyle, Shaheen, Cedric, Mary, David, and Camilla having their PB&Js. They're back at camp. David says, I think in confessional, because they're all in a group, so he wouldn't say this out loud, but he mentions that Cedric is the only person he wants to see go home tonight because of the existing strongman alliance, which, we've said our piece on that alliance, but that makes sense. And Cedric, we also hear from him that he's aware that he's unsafe, that he's not in the majority alliance right now, and that he's maybe in trouble tonight. But we also hear from Kyle, which is very interesting. And I do think, to the point that I was making before about this like distilled, simplistic version of events, I do think this is very much that, where we're not hearing the full story from Kyle. It's not really prompted by anything. I think it's just planting a seed either for later or so that they have some kind of toss up tonight of like, ooh, things might not go the way that they're planned. Let's plant some doubt. But we hear Kyle mention that he doesn't trust Shaheen, which is fair, but its placement within the conversation felt very much like we need somebody else to be on the chopping block to make it interesting. So that's what happens. We also hear from Mary, who says Say is not going to make the jury because Mary is all-knowing, intuitive queen. And then that sort of transitions us to the losers who are on the old Siva camp, but I'll pause if anybody has anything to add at this moment about what we've had thrown out so far. And if not, we'll carry on because it comes back up later because we continue to talk about it.
I just like that Mary had sort of insight from God, maybe, that Say was not going to make it. I also saw a very funny tweet because like someone had been tweeting on, not on behalf of Say, but sort of being like,
There
someone,
was a lot of drama on Twitter this week.
yeah, but someone had been tweeting every week, like every voice that comes up against Say will fall because
Okay.
it was like every person who was like, get out, Say, like went home. And then
Mhm.
Justin quote retweeted it and was like, guess who's sat next to all those tongues who rose against her on the way home? Because it was Say. She had to sit there with every single one of them on the way home because she's not on the jury. And I was like, damn. But it's very funny that Mary was like, Say's gonna go. Like, let's be honest. Like, it's
Mhm.
just not her time. She's outie. And I was like, okay, Mary, you tell him. You tell him, girl.
Mhm. But I think that also speaks to, again, my problem with this episode. Like, it was so clear among these groups of people who was going to go home tonight that to then manufacture, like, but it might be this other person. Like, everybody knew what was going to happen.
They telegraphed it early and then played a game of like, who's to say for 15
Yeah.
minutes. And then it went exactly as they telegraphed right after the challenge.
Which I will say that was discussed on Jeff's podcast a little as like how the whatever camera people have to like follow it. Like they need every storyline or potential like voting option to they need to like record it because they don't know which one is like the truth or they don't know like if someone's
Mm.
gonna like change their mind at the end. So I don't know. Rachel was just kind of she was like, yeah, I never thought about how the camera people like they don't really know. Like they don't ever tell the
Blindsided.
truth. Yeah. Like so they're like, we gotta catch it all because one of these is gonna happen, and then we have to be able to like show it and as you know the progression of how it happened. So I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah,
That
no,
is
that's
a
a
good
really
point
interesting point.
because
Yeah,
they don't know who's going to get voted for. So they have to find coverage
of
for
all the
every
like
possible one,
yeah. And I
which,
think Jeff was saying that's like they just have to be honest with us about what are things they are considering. Basically, that's like an agreement they have, kind of. But
Hmm.
like we don't know which one it's going to be until they vote, kind of. So
I know, I think
That must
Anna,
be so stressful.
literally. Anna, I think you have this written for the next thing, so I won't get too into it, but it's interesting, right? Because like we get that cutaway of Eva giving like the pros and cons, or even David giving the pros and cons for Say, I
Hmm.
think. And I think that's interesting because then it's like, or no, maybe he was doing it for Cedric, but regardless, not that important. But the idea being like that kind of gives the camera people and the producers like a sense of like, okay, it's between these two. It works for
Hmm.
TV because it helps outline it for us, the viewer, but it also helps them sort of get like, okay, those are the two votes. Like, okay, you go film here, see if you can get any more information. And then they have to, it's actually crazy to think that they then are putting that story together,
Yeah.
yeah.
like simultaneously, but also before the voting happens. That's like crazy. I hadn't really considered that.
It
Mhm.
like makes so much sense and it's definitely crossed my mind before, but to sit and like think about it within the context of what we've been saying about this week is it's like makes my brain hurt, but in a good way. But so then we see the losers who are on the old Siva camp, which is lame. They have no flint, no machete, on top of the fact that they're losers. So they're like hit a little bit hard. But the question at hand, which we hear from Joe specifically, is who do we not want on the jury? Like, it's not about who we want to send home per se. It's about who do we not want on the jury. And it comes down to Mitch and Say. So Say is aware that she's the easy vote, and she is thinking correctly that Joe is the type of player that will be like old school loyalty with his alliance. So it's really not worth going to Joe and trying to change his mind. Like he is with his alliance. Great call on that one, Say. So she approaches Eva with a plan to vote for Mitch, planting seeds that Siva is dangerous and they should try to break up the Siva alliance. And it also comes up that Mitch has a block a vote, which, in case you forgot, Mitch has a block a vote. And then from there, we hear a lot from Eva in confessional about, like you said, the perspective of like, well, here's the pros and cons of voting for either one of them. So it's a very deliberate, like, sit down with Eva of, okay, here's some reasons that we might vote Mitch, and here's some reasons that we might vote Say. And while I do think it was smart of Say not to go to Joe because of that old school like mentality, it was kind of disappointing that like once again we're not hearing from either of the people on the chopping block about what their plan is to save themselves, but rather we're hearing from someone who will be making the decision of who to send home on like why we might do one or the other. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just not my favorite. I want to see the person fighting for their chance to stay in the game. But we do see sort of the second round of deliberation once everyone's back from commercial break. So before we get into round two of deliberation for teams 1 and 2, thoughts on what we see here?
I just thought it was interesting, Anna, that you pointed out like we don't hear from Say. When there's only 6 people, you couldn't talk to the person who's potentially getting voted out. I don't know, that feels weird to me. Also for Say, it felt like, are you not fighting to stay there? Like I didn't feel like I got that much from her of like trying to change it. Like she kind of does be like, hey, like Mitch could be problematic later. Like we don't want Siva to just like run away with this, but she doesn't. It didn't feel like to me, again, it could be the edit. Maybe she was playing harder than that.
Mm-hmm.
And then because like the Mitch thing was kind of not really gonna happen, they were kind of like, it doesn't seem like if we show her really going that hard and then it doesn't work, like I don't know. But I don't know. I felt like Mitch was the smarter choice given this situation. Or, I don't know, target Eva, Say. She has an idol. Her number one ally is Joe. He's immune. Like, I think you maybe could have rallied other people to your side. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like a weird thing to exclude her from her own narrative, but do you, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we see more of her later. Like I think let's continue to talk about them. I had it flipped the other way, but I think it makes more sense to talk about them more and what we see after commercial break. Because we do see Say be active still. It just something about the way that it was composed didn't feel like enough, but also didn't feel true to the game that I think Say was actually playing. But like because she goes home, why would they show it? You
Yeah,
know?
maybe that's what it was. Something about it felt off. Like I was like,
Hmm.
it just feels like she does want to be here, but I don't know. Something about it was weird. Sorry.
Okay, so later, when we return to this group of people deliberating, we hear from Chrissy, who also points out how big of a threat Mitch is. So this is now like the second, third time that we've heard someone mention that in this episode. And she's right. And she points out the fact that he emotionally is kind of crumbling a little bit. Like the charity vote hit him really hard. He's like kind of run down. They didn't win reward, blah, 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 blah. And so she goes to Star and pitches this Mitch vote. And Star is like, I want to get out the strong people moving forward in this game, which way to go, Star. Good plan. And we hear Star say in confessional, I have goals beyond the jury, which I think is a comment in the context of a lot of people would be happy, like if they get voted out, but they still make the jury because then they have a say in who wins at the end. But she was like, not for me. Like, I don't want to make the jury. I want to be at the end. And I just thought it was an interesting, we haven't seen a lot or heard a lot of gameplay and ambition in that way within the game from Star. So it was really great to hear that from her. Love that you've got your eyes on the prize, girly. And then Chrissy talks to Say also about getting Mitch out. They have this conversation of like how Say does have a reason to trust Chrissy. Like Chrissy has followed through on the things that she said thus far in the game and with Say specifically. So she's like, I can trust her. But Chrissy doesn't know if she can trust Say. And I'm like, then why the heck did you go talk to her about this? Like, okay. And then Chrissy recaps this to Joe and Eva. And then Mitch is planning to use his block a vote. He's planning to block Say's vote. And he talks to Joe about wanting to work together. And we hear from Joe. Joe is aware that the easy vote for the group is to vote out Say, but the smarter move is to vote out Mitch. So everybody knows that Mitch is a threat. He's playing really hard. They probably should get him out, but ultimately they don't, which I find just, I don't know. It didn't feel like a good conclusion to what we saw during all the deliberation this episode, but that's where we are. And so we go into tribal council saying it's either going to be Say or Mitch, and then ultimately it is Say. But yeah, I don't know. It felt anticlimactic to me.
Yeah, I mean, I did think the whole Chrissy and Say conversation was interesting too. Because yeah, Say was like, if you think about it, she has always voted for who she said she was going to vote for. So I mean, maybe she's more trustworthy than some other people. I mean, Mitch has voted for her, what, twice at that point? So for Say, twice. So that yeah, I mean, I wanted to see them like try to kind of work together. Like I thought that'd be an interesting plot twist, kind of. But yeah, I agree though. Say going home and just not having like a bigger. I mean, I can't believe she's not gonna be on the jury.
I
Like
know.
that's just hard to picture. She brought a lot of chaos but fun to the season. So
I think what bums me out the most, and I don't know if this is true to events or just in the edit, but at no point do we see Say and Mitch come together and say, like, we're both on the chopping block. Why don't we try to work together? Which just always bothers
Literally.
me.
I know we've said this in the past. I think it has to do with the fact that the shot in the dark does give you this like back pocket. I could always try and save myself. And I think we saw in season 47 when they all gave Jeff their shots in the dark so they could have Rice, people were more willing to try and save themselves with their actual fucking vote.
Mhm.
That's what's missing. Like the shot in the dark is dumb for that exact reason because it gives you an out rather than having to like strategically try and convince people to vote with you. It doesn't always work, but I feel like with that in your back pocket, you're like, well, I could just give up my vote and try and save myself. And like my plan would have to hinge on me not doing that.
no.
And so like that feels like a little bit messy. So it's just frustrating. But yeah, I was like, Mitch and Say, work together.
Anyway, let's return to our friends on the other camp for another very simplified version of who's going to go home tonight. This I found to be more interesting, but only slightly so. So, back at camp number one, David, Shaheen, and Mary discuss getting out Cedric, which is something that we heard David talk about earlier. And they're sort of like, what are we going to tell him? So they're in agreement that they want to send him home, but they got to, come up with their plan. And they decide that it's most believable to say that the vote is Shaheen because he's the one Loggy. He's sort of isolated in that way. So they're like, this is a plausible plan. Let's go with this. Shaheen doesn't love this plan, obviously. He says, like, what if Cedric plays shot in the dark and then I go home? But then they're like, no, no, no. If he plays shot in the dark, he has no vote, so you wouldn't. But I like where your mind is at, my guy. Ultimately, Shaheen says, I trust David's intentions because David is sort of the leader of this conversation as he has immunity. So Shaheen's like, I trust David. Fair enough. Kyle potentially wants to use this Shaheen decoy vote as a chance to actually vote him out. So he throws that out to Cedric, and then he brings it to Camilla, and they are on their Jedi mind trick games, and they say, how can we manufacture a situation where it looks like Shaheen is coming after us, and then it's okay for us to get him out as self-defense? Because they're thinking in the context of like the big guy loyal alliance, and like if they go after Shaheen, then that alliance is going to come after them unless they have this, you know, justifiable plan where it's like, well, we had to save ourselves in going after Shaheen. They're thinking they're on like level a million compared to everybody else. So Camilla goes to David and says, I think Shaheen has an idol and wants to make a big move. She's planting seeds, she's planting doubt, and she's doing it as successfully as possible, but she's doing it to David, who, loyalty, strength till the end. David wants to keep the Strong Guy Alliance together and play with them. He does acknowledge that Shaheen could be a threat. He's like, I get that. That's totally fair. But which relationship do I want to keep moving forward with in this game? And ultimately, David is like, I want to keep Shaheen. So there's a lot going on here. They do end up voting out Cedric, but there's some stuff bubbling under the surface here that I think could be really interesting moving forward. Kyle and Camilla are just tails all the time. They're playing chess, everybody else is playing checkers. Yeah, and again, we really don't hear from Cedric, unfortunately. And that's my problem with the episode. Like this is really interesting stuff, but it has no bearing on what happens tonight, essentially. I'm like, this could be really cool in the next couple episodes, but where is Cedric? Where are you?
I don't know. I wanted to talk about the whole strong person stuff, but I don't
Oh
know if
yeah.
that's now or later.
Yeah.
Because I actually think Chrissy might have brought some of it up too, like where it at the other tribal. Well, okay, this is my thing. I feel like the strength is also getting combined with being loyal, and I don't think those are like why do those have to be the same
They
thing? Or
don't,
like,
Stacey. They don't.
It's
That's the
just those
problem.
particular people are strong and also
yeah,
loyal.
like they're just
They're
they
also stupid, as
Yeah.
evidenced by their alliance. I said what I said.
because I think Chrissy said something like, like we can't just all be loyal to each other the whole time. Like that's just
No,
not possible.
literally, she was like, "The game is deception." What do you mean? And I was like,
Was
"Thank you,
that at
Chrissy."
tribal council? Because I remember texting and
I
being like,
remember.
Chrissy,
It,
voice of
it was
reason
at
all of a
tribal
sudden?
council. So she brought it up. So we get the edit of Star being like, I want to be able to be at the end. And she wants to take strong players down. Like Star said that. She's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like this. And then Chrissy basically voiced it at tribal council. She was like,
Uh,
the loyalty strong alliance is stupid. And David looks so affronted. And I'm like, my guy, she's right. It's dumb. It's dumb.
yeah. I mean, and I just don't get how, like, I don't know. I just feel like they think because they're strong, they're like better humans. And I'm just like, I
No,
don't
David
understand.
said that, Stacey. David straight up said that. When he made the alliance, he goes, we need the strong people to stick together so that when one of us wins Survivor 48, we can have someone we're
Yeah.
proud of as the winner.
Yeah.
Fuck you, to be
Yeah,
quite
no, big
honest.
time.
But I feel like at the time, even though I still didn't like it, I thought he just meant like they're proud that they're like physically dominant, but he thinks they're like better people. And
He
I just
genuinely thinks
don't.
they're better people, Stacey. He
I'm like, I'm
genuinely is like,
confused. And that is
he's
a
like big
very old
brain.
school way of like old school survivor thought. So, but I just like that Chrissy was like, I don't know about that. And I think she named maybe Joe. I think she was just kind of like, well, in that case, like Joe and Eva are like we're basically giving them a ticket to the end or something. So, but then in the second tribal, I don't know if it came up as much, but yeah, I just David is, and of course he has the idol this time, so or the immunity this time, but he's just starting to get on my nerves more and more.
Oh,
Like I
Stacey, I gave up on him
just
3 weeks ago when he came up with
I
this
know.
idea.
Like it was already a little strange with the whole girlfriend whatever thing,
I
but
now get it. I now get her. I'm like, don't go back with him. If he wins $1 million, say no.
it's just giving some strange vibes. So I guess all that to say, yeah. I mean, I'm like, I would love now. Is Mary? Who's Mary with? Is she with?
Mary's with
Mary's
the
all on her
strong
own.
people, kinda. She's kind of with the strong boys. She was talking to
Oh,
all of them, but I don't think she is like locked into their alliance. I think she was just willing to vote with them. But I need
okay.
Chrissy, Star, Mary, like to come together. I need Kyle and
Yeah. With
Camilla to
yeah.
like use their power for good, which I think they are going to because they're starting to, as much as I don't want to lose Shaheen, they're
Yeah.
starting to plant seeds to get out Shaheen. And I think that is evidence that Kyle's like, I don't actually want to be in this alliance, but they don't know that right now, and that's good.
So yeah, I want oh my God, I can't think of name. I can't say names right now. Camilla
Yeah.
and Kyle to like work with Mary, maybe Chris. I don't know exactly how I feel about Chrissy yet, but maybe Chrissy, and Star. And I just feel like, what is this? We're loyal, we're like better than everyone. It's just starting to get overdone. And it's like, you're gonna turn on each other. I still think even Joe is gonna turn on them. Like like Joe's
I
probably
think
the best
Joe is
human
going
there, and he's still gonna turn on them.
I need Joe and Shaheen to get out of there.
Yeah.
I need somebody to break up like Joe and Eva so that one of them has a wake up call of like, oh shit,
That's true.
this
Yeah.
isn't working.
And low-key, I need Joe to be the one who stays in the game.
Yeah.
You can cut that out. You can cut that out because I don't hate Eva the way other people seem to, or like find her as annoying as other people seem to, but I just like genuinely enjoy Joe. I genuinely enjoy him.
Well, it's just like Joe. I think we would, speaking of like who you'd be proud of as a winner, like we would all respect Joe as a winner. And we don't even go for men that much, but like we
I
would
don't.
respect him.
I don't.
So,
I would
I'm
much
guilty
rather
of
a
that,
woman win.
Unfortunately.
But in this moment, I would be okay with Joe as a man winning. He broke
Yeah.
Gabler's record. He should also be
Gotta love him for that.
He can be the first male winner of the new era because I don't acknowledge the winner of season 43. So
although I'm getting out of I'm losing focus, but also I would love Kyle to win too. Those are the two men I could go for.
love Kyle. Here's the thing. I do not want Shaheen to go home. Okay, like let me just name.
No, he's proven himself this week to be
I have
essential.
no
Essential.
interest. I have no interest in Shaheen going home. However, I do have interest in Kyle and Camilla's Gambit paying off. Like they're fake. I think he has an idol, Gambit. I do want it to pay off.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be at the expense of Shaheen, but I don't know how it wouldn't be. So
I need them to bring him into it.
yeah, so they can pin it on him when really they're all voting a different way.
But unfortunately, Say goes home. Cedric goes home. Cedric will be on the jury, which I don't know if I trust him with that power.
He'll be swayed by the other jury members. It's fine.
Yeah.
I need him to vote for a different person than he's voted for the rest of the game so he can have
so
9 different votes across his season. Across his tenure on Survivor, I need him to vote for 9 different people.
Incredible
work.
But let's vibe check our boy. He was pretty good this week. He had some bangers, but he also had, Club Condo was back. So I will go first. And my vibe check, it's like a good vibe check because I enjoyed it, but also it was definitely a vibe check. Midway through the challenge, they're doing their banter, right? And they're like, I wish I had written down more of the context, but Jeff essentially like they're giving him props for like being out there and like having a good time, whatever. And he like puts his arms up and he goes, "This is my job." And it's like kind of a brag, but also he's totally right. And it was great. I loved it. It was in the midst of like a lot of good Jeff moments, so didn't want it to go unnoticed. But Aggie, what are you gonna vibe check him for?
Here's the thing. I think I have to give him a positive one. The whole, like, I know we have said my favorite part of the episode is when he goes cue the music and then Shaheen's like, heard you. I will cue the music. And then he's like, it's pretty good. Like, he's like kind of annoyance at how good Shaheen is at it. He's like, oh, I've created a show that like quite literally this guy on a bench can recreate with his own mouth. Hilarious. And he was like, it was so good. But Jeff being like, that's pretty good, actually, that was really important.
Oh, Stacey, how about you?
No, I was thinking like honestly, the way he made fun of himself kind of was great this episode. But I do think him just, highlighting Cedric's failure at the challenge would be a vibe check. He didn't have to kick him when he was down.
You did not have to come back for round 2, Jeff.
Like Cedric has had a rough go of it.
My guy has been crying every episode.
Like, leave him alone.
Leave him alone, Jeffrey.
It was another good leave him alone moment was when Shaheen was sitting on the bench being like, these guys are the reason I don't take my shirt off during on this show. And Jeff goes, hey man, can't be all things.
I forgot about that. But that was also so funny. And I was like, okay, but like, Jeff, where's the building up of each other? You just said, don't take your shirt off. It's not worth it. Look
He
at
said,
David.
actually, yeah, you should probably keep it on.
He said, that's an
Yes.
Adonis, and you're just a man. So keep your shirt on.
Oh my
I
God.
personally would love to see him take his shirt off, and I fully support it.
Anna, tell him to. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, Castaway of the Week. Let's bring it back down to earth a little bit. Stacey, I have you up first. Who is your Castaway of the Week?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, who really?
Well, no one was strategic. I can't talk. No one was
Yeah.
strategic. So you maybe just need to pick for a
Off
different
vibes.
Yeah, and if I'm picking off vibes, okay, now it's easy. Okay, if I'm picking off vibes, I am doing Shaheen because his
Yeah, you are.
singing moment
Mhm.
is just like he was just having a ball at that challenge. It's like I lost, but this is fun, and the whole it was great. I mean, honestly, I if it wasn't a person we had to pick, if it was a moment, it would obviously be that challenge. But he was essential to the fun of the challenge, so I'll go with Shaheen. And if we are talking strategy, he did let them kind of use him as a decoy, which is always risky and scary. But he let them do it, so I think he's in a decent position, except for Camilla and Kyle have kind of thrown his name out there. But aside from that, I think he's in a good spot. So
Aggie, you're up next.
I was also gonna maybe do Shaheen. I did think about doing Kyle again. I know I just picked him, but I did think like he lasted very long in the challenge. Like it's hilarious that like Joe and David aren't even coming up, even though they technically won immunity. Like there. I'm a little worried that the amount of Shaheen we heard and his comment of if I stay in control of this game, I will win. I'm like, I don't love that from an
Mm-mm.
editing standpoint because it feels like that's you telling me you're going home next week. But I think for the amount of love I've given him this episode around his incredible voice acting and his bantering with Jeff, I think I have to give it to Shaheen, even though like I do understand that like there is danger in that choice.
You know what sucks so much about him is like he would be such a good jury member.
Oh,
Like you know he would bring
Eat.
it every week to tribal
he
council.
would eat. Absolutely.
the comments
the
under his breath and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, mic'd
The
up, he'd be
reactions.
lit.
And also you know he'd be turning looks.
Yeah.
You know
He'd be
it.
turning looks. It's like a whole thing. Like I don't know.
I think we'll see him there. I think we'll get him on.
think you're right.
Unfortunately, I don't think he'll be at the final three, Stacey. So
But who
yeah, I think we
knows?
will see him on the jury. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm getting him to be in that game until the end.
He's not Team Anna, so it's not gonna happen.
We're kind of even now.
Well, we're even in numbers, but not in
Like
Not
for
in
sure.
what we're working with. Heard you.
like I'm sorry, David Shaheen Chrissy is not equal to Eva Joe.
Camilla Cole. Or honestly, even
It's just not.
Mitch Star Mary is also a pretty good trio.
Mitch Star Mary has potential.
Mitch Star Mary has some potential to like work together and like combat this nonsense of the strong men.
Mhm.
So yeah, unfortunately, Anna, yours are the ones that seem not great in this moment.
Rip. But I'm proud to have Shaheen on Team Anna. You have a welcome spot there, my friend. I'm gonna go so rogue, and I'm gonna pick David.
Ooh.
Because despite all of our sort of ill feelings toward him and his approach to the game, he did win immunity. I know his like braggadocious attitude and showing in the challenge rubbed some people the wrong way, but you have to give him props. Like my man was doing that challenge with one arm and he was
Yeah.
having fun with it. Like he was playing around while the rest of them were like fighting for their lives. And it was fucking impressive. Also, again, even though I disagree with his strategy in the game, he was in a position of power this week and he did kind of lead the way that the vote ended up going. Whether or not he meant to, that's one thing. Like, I do think ultimately it was Kyle and Camilla and their choice to proceed in that direction. that led the vote to go that way. Like D David did have some power this week. And so I just want to give him props. Do I love his attitude? No. But did he have a great episode? Yeah.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
And we'll leave it there. We had no fans have spoken this week. Just one for just Aggie responded and whatever whatever she said, I'm sure you've also said in this episode. But I think what you said was like how very dare of us to split into two teams. I hate this. And my rapid fire question to you both is, do you think we will see another week, maybe not next week, but maybe next week, where we split into two teams for a challenge? I do.
Oh,
I think we'll see it
God.
again. Maybe not two tribal councils, but certainly two teams for the challenge.
I mean, I'm gonna say no in the hopes that we
Manifest.
don't.
Manifest.
I'm gonna take a page from Aggie's book and manifest no more splitting up. But the likelihood is probably there, but I'm gonna say no.
I like where your head's at.
The way Stacy is like Aggie manifest, as if no one else manifest.
That's your thing. That's
Hilarious. Literally hilarious. I do not think we are going to split into two teams again.
So what you're saying is if we do, it's my fault for manifesting it. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I think we have passed that part of the season. I think Jeff will let them continue to be on their own. I think it'll probably work out for us, but who's to say, really?
Oh,
What's to say? There's
wait,
a lot of football left.
I have to tell y'all something from his podcast though. This could have been a vibe check, I guess.
Please.
I don't even know how it was, why exactly it came up, but they were talking about advantages, and Jeff was like, I'm telling you, people want a whole season with no advantages, but y'all don't understand. You really do like it. And he was like, we'll go with whatever people vote on for 50, but I promise y'all will be upset if we don't have them. I was like, what is this like obsession with advantages? And I don't even know why it came up in this episode, because like all there was the block of vote, right? But he was like basically saying y'all are wrong for not wanting advantages, but if you vote for it, we'll listen to you. So
I mean,
Well,
the worst
speaking
that could
of-
happen is there's no advantages and everybody, like if everybody comes in and plays a Boston Rob game where they're like, I'm the leader and you're gonna follow my rules, and everyone around just goes, okay.
yeah.
Like, and the game is boring and straightforward. Yeah, I'd be kind of mad. But like, what are the odds of that?
Exactly. Yeah. It was interesting for him to bring that up.
I
Like that
mean,
perspective just assumes that advantages are only useful in like shaking up the game so that somebody on the bottom doesn't go home, which like
Yeah.
happens even when there are advantages.
Jeff, I would just like to say, speaking of, are you going to let me vote on more things this week?
True. Yeah.
Been 3 weeks, so I would like to again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're overdue. We're overdue.
This
Oh,
is like the only reason Aggie is watching live is to vote
Right,
live in the moment.
literally, I want to vote in the moment, Jeffrey.
The
I
way
know
I
you
have to do
do.
it so quickly too, like it comes up on the screen and I'm like, I gotta scan the thing and I gotta vote right away.
As if it's not open for 7 days.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
No, I need to
No,
get
I
it.
must vote in the
Get
moment.
it.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, this week we're voting again, Jeffrey. I'm telling you, I will vote against what you want, but let me do it. Love you.
I feel like the last episode where we said something similar, there was a vote the next week. So
Yeah.
I like
there
this.
was.
So that's what I'm manifesting.
Love it. We're gonna see it. Well, we will see. We'll see next week. But here we are, new stage of the game. We are jury from here on in, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So thank you for following along with us, and we'll catch you next week at our next episode. Thanks for listening, and thanks for escaping reality with us. Bye.